people of the internet, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. Depending on when I post this, this will either be the last video of the year or the first video of the year. Either way, Happy New Year, guys. For tonight's video, we will be diving into another true crime, but as always, before we get started, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. And if you have your own Reddit-like story, make sure to email this email right here, which is also available in the description down below. And lastly, if you're feeling generous and you're loving the content, here is my tip jar information. Anything is greatly appreciated. Okay, that's enough from me. Let's get started. Tonight we're going to be learning about the Fort Worth missing trio, the girls who went missing going Christmas shopping. Our information is brought to you by the crimewire.com. Mary Rachel Trelica was a 17-year-old high school student at Southwest High School in Fort Worth, Texas. Rachel had been married for about 6 months to her husband Tommy Trelica. She owned a 1972 Oldsmobile 98, which was the vehicle she would be driving on the day the girls disappeared. Lisa Renee Wilson was 14 years old. She and Rachel had been friends for many, many years, and their retrospective families were close as well. At the time of her disappearance, Renee had a serious boyfriend named Terry, who had just given her a promise ring as an early Christmas gift. Julianne Mosley, 9, lived across the street from Renee, lived across the street from Renee's grandmother, and was the youngest sister of Renee's boyfriend. Now let's talk about the Christmas shopping. On December 23rd, 1974, Rachel and Renee decided that they wanted to do some last-minute Christmas shopping. Julie asked to tag along with the pair because she was bored and didn't want to spend the day alone. The older girls told Julie that she had to get permission first. Julie called her mother, Rayanne, who was hesitant to let her go at first, as Julie didn't have any money, and while Rayanne knew Rachel, she wasn't well acquainted with Renee. But she finally relented, knowing that her daughter would be lonely if she were left behind. The three girls set out. They wanted to be back by 4 p.m. because Renee, in particular, was excited to attend a Christmas party later that day with her boyfriend and wanted to get ready beforehand. Their first stop was at a surplus store in Fort Worth so that Renee could pick up her layaway items. After that, they headed to the Seminary South Shopping Center, also in Fort Worth, unaware that this simple act would change their lives forever. When the girls didn't return home, their respective families became concerned and decided to investigate. They drove out to the Seminary South Shopping Center and quickly found Rachel's car parked up in upper levels of the Sears parking lot. However, the girls were nowhere to be found. It has sometimes been erroneously reported that the vehicle was full of shopping bags, but there were actually no bags from the mall inside the car. There were only the layaway items that Renee had picked up earlier, as well as a wrapped gift that Renee had bought with her Most of the accounts suggest that the girls appeared happy and at ease. One woman notified store clerks that she saw 3 girls in a pickup truck with a man. The witness did not give her name, unfortunately, and has never come forward to help the police. Only one witness came forward to say that they had seen the girls forced into a pickup truck by 2 men. 2 days later, after the girls' disappearance, Tommy, Rachel's husband, received a strange and troubling letter that was ostensibly from his wife. The letter read, "I know I'm going to catch it, but we had to get away. We're going to Houston. See you in a week. The car is in the Sears upper lot. Love, Rachel." Oddly, the letter was addressed to Thomas, despite the fact that he went by the name Tommy, which was what Rachel always called him. Also, Rachel's parents were adamant that it wasn't her handwriting. Another suspicious detail. It appeared that the author had misspelled Rachel the first time, spelling it with a second E initially, and then having to go back over it with an I instead. It seemed unlikely that Rachel, who had written her own name countless times, would have made such a mistake. The letter was examined by many handwriting experts over the years with inconclusive results. Renee and Julie have not been seen nor heard from since. Now let's get into the Fort Worth missing trio theories. Theories. The families continued to search for the girls in the years and decades following their disappearance, distributing missing persons flyers and hiring private investigators. One such private investigator, Dan James, claimed that through the course of conducting interviews with friends of the missing girls, as well as 2 people who had been living in an RV in Tommy and Rachel's backyard, he learned that Rachel, Tommy, and Deborah, their roommate, and Rachel's older sister, had been arguing in the weeks leading up to Rachel's disappearance. Some context for why this might be important. Deborah was Tommy's ex-fiance. Not long after this breakup with Deborah, Tommy began dating and eventually married Rachel. The 3 were living together in December 1974, and though this sounds like an uncomfortable and emotional situation from an outside perspective, Deborah claimed that there was no ill will whatsoever between either herself or her sister, or between her and Tommy. James also allegedly learned that a physical altercation had occurred between Rachel, Deborah, and Tommy at a bowling alley just the day before the girls went missing. If true, it's unclear what precipitated the fight or who got physical with whom. Deborah, for her part, claimed that they had played canasta together the night before and made no mention of a fight. Dan James also believes that Tommy and Deborah, who were having an affair, and stated that friends of Rachel's had said that she was having multiple affairs of her own as well. Now, there were some disturbing allegations against Rachel's father. Another potential person of interest identified by James is Rachel's father, Raymond Cotton Arnold. He was alleged to have been physically abusive towards both his daughters, which was said to be the main reason that both had moved out of the family home. James went on to state that his investigation had turned up evidence that Arnold was inappropriately involved with a number of underage girls, and that he was possibly even sexually abusive towards his own daughters. Which brings us to a particularly disturbing theory posited by Dan James, that Rachel had been 6 to 8 weeks pregnant and that Arnold himself may have been the father. James cited medical records basis of what he was told by Dan James. He has since changed his mind on that point, and however determinedly continues to search for clues as to what happened to his sister. Tommy briefly offered a $2,000 reward for information leading to the whereabouts of his wife, but withdrew the reward within a year and moved away. Both Tommy and Deborah have professed their innocence of any wrongdoing in this case. A new suspect was discovered in 1975, a 28-year-old man with a tenacious connection to Rachel. Shortly before she went missing, Rachel had applied for a job at a store in Fort Worth. The man who owned the store, the suspect in question, had allegedly been making odd, harassing phone calls to the other 6 women who had applied to the same position. Whether Rachel had received similar calls is unknown, and this lead ultimately went nowhere. The Lost Files. In a bizarre twist, another private investigator, John Swam, ordered that all of his files relating to the Fort Worth trio case be destroyed upon his death. Shortly thereafter, in 1979, he died of a drug overdose, which was ruled as a suicide. Swam had been investigating the disappearances from early on and was said to have done substantial work on the case. Sadly, whatever he may have discovered in his final months died with him. In January 2001, the case was reopened. The police interviewed at least 20 new witnesses who'd seen the girls at the mall that day and reportedly narrowed their suspect list down to just five individuals. That same year, a former Fort Worth policeman and security guard at the Seminary South Sears outlet came forward to report he'd spotted the 3 girls with a young male security guard inside a pickup truck on December 23, 1974. He said that they appeared perfectly at ease and were even laughing. Authorities believe that the girls left the mall with someone they knew that day, and that things went wrong from there. Some recent updates on the investigation are in 2018, Rusty Arnold, still determined to find answers as to what happened to his sister, learned that 3 cars were found at the bottom of Benbrook Lake, just located 8 miles from the shopping center. Enlisting the help of a team of divers and dozens of volunteers, Rusty had all 3 vehicles pulled out of the lake, hoping to find any evidence related to the disappearance of the Fort Worth trio. Unfortunately, nothing of note was discovered, nor anything that would suggest a connection to the case. Rusty also became the administrator of the Missing Fort Worth Trio Facebook page, which has over 13,600 members. Quote, "We were looking at the statistics of the 13,600 people who are in the Facebook page, and there are people from cities and countries all over the world." Rusty told Dateline in 2009, quote, "It makes me feel like what we are doing is working, and we have to keep talking about it and getting others to talk about it, too." Rusty, who has been working on the case most of his life, also described how the tragedy has affected people. Quote, "My mom puts 3 angels out on her lawn every year at Christmas time to symbolize the girls. Fort Worth was changed forever on the day the girls went missing." No further developments were announced until 2022, when another high-profile case in Fort Worth, Texas was solved. Melissa Highsmith, who was abducted as a child in 1971, was reunited with her family, bringing a happy end to one of the country's oldest missing persons cases. Rusty Arnold looked at the proximity between Highsmith and his sister's trio and wondered if there could be a connection. That same year, Rusty announced that an anonymous donor had put up large amounts of money, always like shock my brain. A donor had put up a whopping $50,000 reward for someone with information leading to an arrest and conviction. The case remains open and active. Remaining family members are still hopeful that one day they'll have definitive answers about what happened to Rachel, Renee, and Julie, and why they vanished 5 decades ago. If you happen to be watching this video and have any information that needs to be shared about this case, please reach out to the Fort Worth Police Department. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. And if you have your own Reddit-like story that you would like for me to read in a future video, make sure to email this email right here. And if you're feeling generous and you want to show some love and you're loving the content, here is my tip jar information, which is also available down below. Anything is appreciated.